Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Esteban's Blood Box. We're here to talk about things metal, all things around metal and such. I am back today sporting my Ken's Death Metal Crypt shirt, and we are listening to the Worm Witch demo. The reason for this is because this will come up again later, or this band will. Today I'm going to be talking about my good friend Jacob from the Upside Down Church, who I got kind of a VCLT from. And Jacob also introduced me to kind of Worm Witch. I had heard of him, but didn't know much about him. And when they were re-releasing their demo on cassette, he's the one that told me about it. I grabbed it, fell in love with it, really dig this band. So yeah, we're listening to this while I talk about what Jacob sent me. So I did a little bit of illustration work for Jacob recently, and we had agreed upon a trade for records, which I'm always down with. I love that sort of thing. So he had a couple records that was more than enough than sufficient for the work I did for him. Then he ended up sending me a fat stack of amazing records, so I had to share it with you all today and show you what he has sent. So we're going to start with the original records that we had discussed doing the trade for some of the illustration work for. I'm going to start with this one, with Ghost, Eponymous. Their very first release, put it out by, I think it was Rise Above Records. Yeah, actually, Jacob is a very respectful collector because everything was sent in the original packaging with the hype stickers, all of which I kept because I also love keeping the hype stickers on records when I get them, and I put them on the extra sleeves that I buy, so they're all still here. Jacob, I've kept them all. But yeah, Ghost. So starting with this, I love Ghost. I know people give them shit, but it's also because they're not metal. They never were metal. It's a cult rock, especially like 70s vibe of cult rock. And especially the earliest stuff was great. I actually like all their stuff. I didn't like the newer stuff. I know it's really poppy, but that's the point of it. And I really dig it. But this first one is really good. Lots of classics on here. Ritual is, I think, the first song I heard from Ghost, and of course was on this. And really nice to have this. And usually I don't show the actual record itself, but actually most of these Jacob sent me are colored, and they are gorgeous. So we're going to be showing that too. This one, absolutely beautiful coloring on that nice marble, the grays and the blues. Let's see if I can do this without dropping it. But I love when colored records match the album cover. It's one of my favorite things, if the color has some sort of a meaning or if it matches the actual artwork of the album cover. So this one, as you can see, is absolutely gorgeous. Very, very nicely done. Rise Above usually does a really good job on their colors when they do put out colored records. And Rise Above does, they kind of, especially now, have some reissues of things that I'm not sure if these bands were originally signed to them. I think Ghost was. I don't know enough about the history of Ghost to know who they were signed to, but I know Rise Above has been putting out their stuff for a while. And this next one actually also was put out by them, recently re-released, some Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. Now this band, when I first started kind of really getting into metal, I'd listened to bits of metal throughout when I was a kid and so on and so forth. But it was about 2013, 2014 when I really started getting into it. And when I first started getting into metal, I wasn't listening to a lot of black metal and stuff like that. I was in college getting an art degree, and my buddy is the one, Chris Escobar, is the one who turned me on to it. And he was listening to a lot of stuff like The Sword, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, Electric Wizard, sort of the doomy, droney type stuff. Doom was really big at that time. And actually, I take that back. It was closer to 2012, because it was when a lot of these bands were really hitting it big. Mastodon, of course, they were big in the 2000s, but it was really that 2010 to 2015 when there was that kind of rise of doom metal and sludge metal and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I actually started getting into metal, was more with those bands. And Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats is one of those that I came across and absolutely loved, and I still really, really dig them. It's sort of that throwback, revivalist, sort of 60s sound, like if Ghost is pulling from the 70s, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats is pulling from the 60s, and they do a great job at it. It's also fun, like kind of a cult, again, same thing, a cult rock, but more along the lines of like cult-ish type stuff from the 60s. And this was their very first album. They did have one before this called Volume 1 that wasn't released until years later. I think it was about 2018 when they re-released that on vinyl. That was the main guy from this band, when he first started, but he never thought it would do anything. This is the first official release. Absolute classic. This is the first album I heard from this band as well, and one of the few Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats records that I actually don't have yet. So this is awesome. Thank you, Jacob. I love this album. Absolutely one of my favorites. Same thing, colored vinyl. Got to show you because it is beautiful. Did a great job on this as well. Also, there's kind of a theme to these first three records. They're all kind of blues and purples, but has a really nice splatter to it. Very well done. Beautiful. So very, very excited to have that one. Kind of the ones that he sent me initially are more in that sort of throwback, some you'll see here in a minute, kind of some sludgy type stuff. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Jacob is not a huge fan of that stuff. He just sort of got these. I actually dig a lot of that stuff, so it was a really kind thing of him to send me these. But moving right along, the third one in the original set is, of course, Electric Wizard. Awesome album. First one I heard from them, my buddy Chris Escobar that I was talking about, that I was in art school with. This is kind of the first band he really got into in the sludge stuff, and then found the other ones like The Sword and things like that. Of course, Electric Wizard, been around since the 90s. This is 2006, I believe, is when this one came out. It was kind of that middle era where they had gotten their grounding on kind of becoming a more popular band, and really settled into that doomy, sludgy sound. And this one's called Come to My Fanatics, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I actually only knew this one by the cover, not the name of the album, but I've always recognized this album by its really cool cover. Great stuff, very classic Electric Wizard. Again, fits in that kind of sleep realm, the band Sleep, that kind of stuff. Same thing, great colored vinyl on this one. Fits the album cover perfectly. Kind of similar to the Ghost one, they really use the same colors on the vinyl that are on the actual album itself. So I'm smitten with that. Absolutely love it. So these are the three that when we kind of agreed I was going to make this illustration for him, and I told him that I would be down with the trade instead of payments, because I especially for records, enjoy doing that sort of thing. So these were the original three that were sent for that. And then the rest of this I'm going to call the VCLT, because I was not expecting these at all, and I am super, super happy about everything he sent me, because I did not know some of these. Some of them I did. The ones I didn't know, I have loved all of them. They are all amazing. I'm smitten with them. I've actually gotten on and ordered some stuff from some of these bands after I heard them through what Jacob had sent to me. So we're going to start with some 10 inches. These are both from, and some of these bands I'm not going to be familiar with still a little bit, but Sentient Ruin, I believe, is the name of the label. It's a little hard to read, but we're going to start with Puro Odio, I believe is how you say it. Kind of a punk band, harsh punk band. Fantastic little 10-inch, a lot of songs packed into this, like a lot of punk, they'll do a 7-inch or a 10-inch, and it'll be a full album because they're usually pretty short songs, but killer stuff. I did find out that this is at 33 RPM. I couldn't tell when I put it on because it legitimately sounds good at 33 or 45. So it is meant at 33. It is more of like a kind of a sludgier, doomier punk sound. So take punk, add in some of the doomier stuff, and that's kind of the mix with this. So if you're curious about that, definitely check this out. So the first time I played it, I played the whole record at 45 RPM. And it sounds very traditional punk there in that speed, and it totally works. You would not be able to tell it's at the wrong speed with that, because the sludgy stuff is sludgy enough and doomy enough, and the vocals are harsh enough that everything works sped up. So kind of get 2 for 1 on this one. I'll just show you what I'm talking about on this one here. So this is 33 RPM. This is the speed it's supposed to be at. next to the speakers so you can really hear it. And here it is at 45 RPM. See, that sounds like a punk record, doesn't it? Shit. There. So yeah, this is what I played it at when I first started it. Thinking it was a punk record. And it is kind of a punk record, but a little more doomy. So there you go. Great stuff. I'm trying to get more into punk because I like a lot of the ideologies in the punk world. I'm just more of a, atmospheric metal kind of person. That's usually what I gravitate to. I like the emotion in that music, but again, I dig the ideology of a lot of punk stuff, so I'm trying to branch out and get into that a little bit. So again, from this same label, another band called Murder Bait. This is also a 10-inch, obviously. This one has 2 songs on it, so short play EP, something like that. Love this band. When I put it on, I was so excited because, of course, I got this package in the beginning of October. This is straight up post-punk goth type stuff, more goth than post-punk, but really, really well done. And their other albums I listen to are also really good, but I would say this 10-inch and these 2 songs is their creme de la creme of what they've come out with so far. It is absolutely fantastic. If you're into goth music, I highly recommend it. It's not your kind of cheesy 2000s goth. It is definitely like 80s, early 90s type goth. Very throwback to the old school style. So, highly, highly, highly recommend Murder Bait. Really good stuff there. Both of those are just black vinyl, so you know what black looks like. All right, up next, this one was a huge surprise to me because Jacob and I, chat on Instagram every once in a while, and we started talking about Health, the electronic music project Health. You've probably heard of Perturbator too. Same kind of, both of them have the same kind of vibes, and I know that Jacob got to go see Perturbator and Health play together, which I missed. They were up here, I think, in Minneapolis on that same tour, and I had to work, so I was able to see it, and I was so bummed. But I love Health. Health is amazing. Actually found out about them, as I think quite a few people did. I'm not a huge gamer. I don't play a lot of games, but there are some from my childhood I really like. Max Payne being one of them from PlayStation 2. I love that game still to this day, both the first and second one. So when the third one came out in, 2010, 11, something like that, I don't remember exactly when, but Health actually did the entire soundtrack for that game. And it really added a whole nother layer to everything because it was just this really haunting, dark electronic music, kind of pushing into a new realm in the more popular electronic dance music where it is darker and heavier and I wouldn't say there's elements of metal in it, but there's definitely the vibes of metal in it in some way. So I discovered them through that, and then of course went and found the rest of their catalog at that time, and it was fantastic. But with all that, I never owned any Health stuff, and so this was a huge surprise when Jacob sent this to me. Probably one of the best records put out by Health because it's a collaboration with a bunch of other electronic, EDM, not even really EDM, just electronic artists. All sorts of people. Of course, there's one with collab with Perturbator on here, Ghostmain, Youth Code, Full of Hell, so some metal as well. Some of that on here. The Soft Moon, Brothel, all sorts of stuff. Lots of great collabs on here. Really nice design on artwork on it too. Need to flip my cassette here. So if you are into electronic music at all, if you haven't heard of Health, they're pretty big now. You probably have, but if you haven't, definitely check them out. Again, Perturbator Health, both of them are kind of the top in that dark electronica right now. And of course, this album is one to pick up. There's a volume 2 of this also. This is part 1. There is a part 2 that recently got released as a box set, so you can get both of them. Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Jacob, man. This was a super huge surprise, and I really appreciate it. All right. And next up, again, joining the cassette, that's what we're listening to. Some Worm Witch, the demo, or the first thing they put out. So Jacob also sent me this, which was super, super awesome because, again, I love this band. I still don't own a lot of Worm Witch stuff. I just got to get in there and get it. But this is the newest album that they came out with. It's really, really good. I don't know how loud it is on the video. If you can hear the demo, it's a lot rawer. The demo, the early stuff is a lot more raw than the later stuff. But the later stuff kind of has... when Jacob was telling me about it, he's kind of like maybe a little Uada, like the band Uada. There's some of those vibes, that kind of black metal, sort of riff heavy, progressive in a way, maybe, I don't know, but more riff oriented black metal. And I love that stuff. Absolutely dig the hell out of it. This album was fantastic. Really, really excited to have this one on vinyl. I desperately needed it. So huge surprise to be able to get this in there too. Show you a really nice ultra clear record here. Also something I really dig, just nice and simple but really beautiful, ultra clear with that nice logo in the middle. Great stuff. Worm Witch, another one if you're into more of the again, riffage black metal, definitely one to check out if you have not yet. I don't think they have a bad album. I have liked everything I've heard from them, and I need to pick up the rest of their catalog soon. But yeah, really, really good stuff. Right along here. So this one I like, but it's gonna need to grow on me a little bit more. And I'm still very appreciative of getting this because this whole collection is awesome. But this one was interesting. I think it's Asphodel Wine, I believe is how you say it. Really love the album cover. Really good stuff there. Kind of reminds me of maybe Fall of the Leaf type album covers. Partnership between, I don't think the names are on here. I looked them up a little bit. It's a man and a woman who sort of collabed on this. And I'm trying to remember. I think they were on tour with Cults of Luna, I want to say. And that's how they kind of met and ended up doing this collab. Really good idea. The song structures are good. The only complaint with this is it seems like some things, like there's a violin parts that sounds a little out of tune, and some of the vocals sound a little shaky. I wonder, if it kind of sounds like it was maybe rushed a little bit. But the idea behind it, the song structures themselves are fantastic. So I need to give this one a few more listens because I think it'll really grow on me. But some interesting stuff here. You had to look them up, but hey, I'm down to try anything, and I enjoyed checking this out. So that was also a fun one to get. This next one, had no idea who this person was. Put out by Sargent House. So you're probably familiar with Sargent House with Chelsea Wolfe and Emma Ruth Rundle, two artists that I really, really love and dig. Fantastic artists. Absolutely smitten with both of their work. I believe it's Iona Gika. Is the one that Jacob sent to me. I think this is just a black vinyl too. Yes, it's a black vinyl. Love this album. It is fantastic. If you are into Chelsea Wolfe and Emma Ruth Rundle and that kind of stuff, definitely check out this album. You've got to give it a listen because it is absolutely gorgeous. One of the things I really like about a lot of these artists, again, like Chelsea Wolfe and Emma Ruth Rundle, and obviously this person, is they're not relying on any form of song structure. It is literally just the art they're making. Songs can sound completely different and kind of be all over the place, but intentionally, there's not a lot of traditional song structures or song work in it. Very unique stuff, and this artist absolutely follows that vein of doing their own thing. Beautiful voice, beautiful instrumentation. The entire record from front to back is just gorgeous. I would say this is maybe a little bit more lighthearted than some of the Emma Ruth Rundle and Chelsea Wolfe stuff. Those are both very heavy artists emotionally, very dark, which I love. Of course, I have no problems with that whatsoever. But this one's maybe just a little bit more lighthearted, but absolutely fits in that vein. Sargent House is the label this woman should be on because she is absolutely fantastic and fits that genre. Which I have heard called, and I this may have changed because it was a few years ago when I read this, but I've heard that kind of these artists, kind of the Sargent House artists, it's called death gospel. And I guess there is an old version of death gospel from like the 30s or 40s. I think it had something to do with some blues offshoot. But this is kind of the modern death gospel, a separate thing from that, where it's that sort of really moody, dark music. Not metal, but totally fits in with all of the metal stuff. So really, 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 really good stuff here. Please check this one out if you have not yet. Name of the album is Thalassa, I believe, if you can see that there. So, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Kind of feel like this album was trying to do something like this, but this is by far the more successful album. Again, I don't mean to, I'm not shitting on this one. It's worth a listen. It's good. It just needs to grow on me a little bit more. So definitely check that out. All right. And last but not least, this is one of the black metal albums that Jacob sent me, Klimt, C-L-E-M-T, Eclipsing Through the Womb of Twilight and Dementia. So pretty heavy stuff there. But it sounds just like it looks. It is straightforward black metal. Really, really good stuff. Another one I was like, hey, this looks like it's right up my alley. This looks exactly like something I would like. So threw it on, and it is straightforward black metal, and it is awesome. So definitely check this out too. Trying to think, I've given it one listen, so I need to listen to it a little bit more. Somewhere in the ballpark of Dark Throne a little bit, maybe later Dark Throne. It's pretty raw, not that raw, but if you are into raw black metal, you'll dig this. Really, really killer stuff. Definitely worth a listen. So that is the collection that Jacob sent me. Just blown away, man. Cannot thank you enough. This was a hell of a stack to get in the mail. I am absolutely smitten with it. I love it. You are a killer dude. Happy to call you a friend, man. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope maybe you found some new bands out of some of these, because a lot of these were new for me also. Everything here is worth checking out. So anyways, yeah, another one down. Happy to see y'all. I'll be back around soon. Hope you're having a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.